We can run, we can hide behind the wall of lies. Truth will find us. We can hide in the night, but in the morning light, truth will find us.
This is the Evan Ginzburg Show at VillageConnectionRadio.com. Steve Miller at the helm, our engineer, and welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Evan. It's great to be here.
And you're
working your show again.
You're a big wrestling buff, so it must be exciting for you to have legends in studio all the time.
I kind of like it. I got to be honest. It's a lot of fun because I have to be perfectly honest. I mean, I'm shocked at how much of how gentlemanly the wrestlers are. On the whole, they're the easiest people to work with.
Easier than musicians.
Yeah, oh my God.
And actors with egos.
Yes,
but those are generalities too. We know some wonderful actors and musicians.
Yes, but on the whole, every wrestler I've come across has been very nice and very, very interesting and warm.
Speaking of which, we have the legendary Coco Beware in studio, WWE Hall of Fame. It's an honor to have you on this show.
Oh man, thank you for having me.
And I specifically wanted to address, before we talk about anything, 1 year ago today, a dear friend of both of ours, Johnny Valiant, tragically lost his life. 1 year ago exactly, so it would be more than appropriate to ask you of your memories of Johnny Valiant.
Well, he was just an outstanding guy. I mean, all the way around, a family man, a good friend of ours. And I met Johnny and Jimmy Valiant as a tag team back in the day, and man, just what a sweetheart. I mean, you just had to know Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
You just had to know Johnny, and the stories that he always will. He was that comedian, even in the dressing room. He would talk. I mean, he just have you laughing about something, and he always sing the song I left my heart, and that's what he used to sing in the shower all the time. I left my heart in San Francisco. Wow. And and that's all and I just, every time I see Johnny, I think about the song that he's always singing. And he was just great, man. He was one of the legends that we really gonna miss. And of course, this is his anniversary. He's gone. He's been gone for 1 year, and but his spirit is still around. He keeps us going, and every time I come to New York City, I think about Johnny, because I used to call him all the time. And hey, little Birdman's in town. Where you at? Oh, right now I'm doing. I'm down here on Broadway. I'm at a economy act, doing an economy show and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's funny. When Nikolai passed, Bret Hart said he was the nicest wrestler he'd ever met. And with Johnny, everybody says the word funny. He was the funniest wrestler I ever met.
Well, but he was nice.
Oh, absolutely.
But nice, funny.
Guy.
Yeah, good-hearted guy. I mean, no problem at all. I mean, he was just it wasn't a bad day. I don't think if it was a bad day, nobody saw it.
Right.
And
the thing with Johnny, he said to me, he never once in, almost 50 years in the business, he never got into a fight with a fan. He avoided that, the barroom brawls and that kind of thing.
Because he wasn't a tough guy.
Right.
It wasn't in his heart to be that, to prove anything, that he was tougher than the next person.
And like yourself, he was very religious, and I was with him after his mother passed, and he went into the church to say a prayer for her. And he wasn't a barroom brawling kind of guy. That wasn't him.
Never have been.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. He never has been. So sometimes our wrestlers are born again Christians and don't even realize it.
And you perform gospel music.
Yes, I do. You know, I play at my church at 1059 Bray Station Road in Collierville, Tennessee. New Shelby Missionary Baptist Church each and every Sunday. And stuff like that. All the wrestling fans are welcome to come by. Even you.
I would love to
come by, and I play lead guitar, and I sing in the male chorus and stuff like that. And you know what? I'm just up on stage like Johnny. I'm up on stage and I'm praising God and not making the people laugh, but you know what? I'm making them have a good time, you know, and that's what it's all about. I just want to be a part of being on a good foot, and thank you for having me here. That's an honor,
pleasure,
you know.
My pleasure.
You know.
And speaking of gospel music, I just got my tickets for Al Green at Radio City.
Oh,
Al
my
Green
God.
is my all-time favorite live performer. Him
Yes.
and James Brown.
Right.
But Al Green in his prime. I once saw him in 1975. Every woman in the audience stormed the stage. You couldn't even see him. He whipped them into such a frenzy. But ironically, a couple of years later, he was doing pure gospel shows. He stopped doing all his hits. And I would see him do gospel shows year after year after year at the Beacon Theater.
And
in
you
New
know,
York.
ever since he stopped,
He came back to it.
But ever since he stopped, he's been blessed even more. He's got more than he ever had.
He has his own church in Memphis,
I mean,
about
yeah.
a mile from Graceland.
Yes, you know.
And the single greatest thing I've ever seen musically was Al Green's church, where he did like 4 hours, and it was just amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I love Al Green, especially on first Sundays. You can't get in this church because he's the only one is serving real wine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
really.
in the community, when they do it, yeah.
And there's a documentary, The Gospel According to Al Green, which is a tremendous film, and it's filmed in his church.
Yeah.
And you know, if you like great music, some of the best nights of my life was seeing Al Green. I love Hezekiah Walker. I just see Little Richard do all gospel shows.
Wow.
Yeah,
Man, I'm telling
that
you.
was wild.
Yes, you got to be there on the first Sundays when they do communion.
I'm gonna get that.
Man, I'm telling you, everybody be wanting another round.
You know, it's funny. I've been around the world, and I tell people the greatest vacation I ever had was down in Memphis.
See there?
Because I'm a music guy.
There we go.
And I was going from club to club to club, and Al Green's church, and the Mid-South Coliseum to see the Moondogs against Lawler and Jarrett.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
you don't want to go to heaven until you come down to New Shelby Missionary Baptist Church and see the Birdman wear that axe out.
There you go. There you go.
You know,
So post-wrestling, you know, you're still involved in wrestling, and this weekend you have a full weekend ahead. You're going to be at WrestleCon, and that's Friday and Saturday in
Right.
New York City.
Wow.
Along with Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Wow.
And yours truly. That'll be fun.
man, that's great.
And Friday night, April 5th, you're going to be at FTW Wrestling at 8 p.m. at the Sacred Heart Catholic Academy. That's appropriate.
Yes.
8405 78th Avenue in Glendale, New York. So come out and meet Coco Beware
Right.
all this weekend.
And I can't wait to all of my fans to come out and meet the Birdman, because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've been up here, up on this end and stuff like that. And man, New York City, you can't beat their fans. They got the best fans. One of the best fans in the world is the New York fans. I mean, and they really supported the Birdman big time back in the day when I came into Madison Square Garden and the Philadelphia
Spectrum.
the Spectrum and stuff like that, even the Boston Garden and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, man? It was just all those days. I just want everybody to come out and see me, and
You're fan friendly. You know, not everybody is. Some
Well,
people.
can I jump in?
Sure,
a second?
absolutely, Steve.
I saw you in the '80s at the Garden, and I wasn't particularly into wrestling. I was taking my little brother, who was 8.
Okay.
Right.
And I will tell you this: when Coco came out, everybody smiled.
Oh yeah.
That to me,
Like
is
a happy
worth $1
pill.
million.
Like a happy
Right.
pill.
That to me is like you, without even getting into the ring.
Right.
The entire crowd was entertained. I mean, that's it. That's the key, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. And I'm glad this is WrestleMania week. I want to plug that and congratulations to all the guys is in the WrestleMania is competing against the in the WrestleMania. And you know what? It goes back. I think about, I'm getting ready for WrestleMania, and I know how it feels.
Yeah.
When you, especially that Saturday night, you got to get plenty of rest and stuff like that. Then early Sunday morning, oh my God, and then late that evening, 6 o'clock, man. And now you're ready to go out and shine.
Wow. What's it feel like to wrestle in front of 90,000, whatever the number was?
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable amount of people.
93,000.
93,000. What does that feel like?
That felt great. I mean,
is it different than wrestling in front of 93 people on an indie? I mean, what?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
But we have.
But what's going through your head as you see this?
But not letting me cut the 93,000 people down. I mean, the 93 people down. They still very important. The 93,
Sure.
the 93 people, but the 93,000 people, man, it was just that was the big granddaddy of them all, and I want to say that you can't beat it. I mean, what I'm saying, they beat our record now, because they took them 30 years to beat our record.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean they did the
Texas Stadium.
Texas Stadium.
Cowboy
Of
Stadium.
course, it's a lot bigger stadium and stuff like that, but it took them 30 years to beat it. But but I still want to love to be a part of WWE, just to come out and be that little role model, that little Birdman, to come out and dance around with the kids and stuff like that. I don't want to wrestle anymore. I don't want to get in the ring and see what I can fly off the top rope, because my days is over on that. I just want to come down the aisle and look good and just to get out there and have fun and be a part of, because I still love the business.
Awesome. And you just went through a 1 hour interview, so I'm not going to subject you to that again. But looking back at your career, are there any particular highlights that stand out besides that WrestleMania?
Well, just just my life in the wrestling business. I achieved that, and that goal it stands out big time. And I want to thank the people. If it wasn't for the people, the wrestling people that put me up there, it wouldn't be no Coco Beware. And if God didn't do it, it can't be done.
Okay. And you probably never got asked this question, but I love Morris Day and the Time. Did you choose your theme music or the WWE? Because that was perfect for you.
No, that was me singing. We started out singing the Morris Day, the Bird.
Right.
And then Morris Day and then would kind of call the office and say, hey, we're not getting any kind of residual money on this or whatever, and we want to stop it,
Oh, really?
So what happened, I came up, I was already in a gospel group called the Gospel Fours. And of course Jimmy McGuire and Jimmy Hart came up with this song, Bird, 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 do the Bird, Bird. Well, we sung this at Kingsbury Studio, high school in Memphis, and we recorded that with my gospel group, the Gospel Fours, behind us.
Wow.
And we let Vince hear it, and Vince said, "Oh, I love it." He said, "Let's play it."
Awesome.
So we left the Bird, we left the Morris Day alone.
Right, along the way.
And just kind of picked up the Birdman song himself, and thank God I was able to sing that song.
And is there anything that you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like to promote?
Well, I just want to promote my life, just being over the years and stuff like that. I'm really happy for myself, and I want to thank the fans. I just want to keep thanking the fans and thank God for all they've done and stuff like that, because without them, I wouldn't have made it here. You guys wouldn't have never known Coco Beware if it hadn't been for even with the WWE. I want to thank Vince McMahon and the whole WWE staff and stuff like that. They
You're,
did.
you're much too negative. No,
Yeah,
kidding.
really, I am.
Kidding.
Yeah, I'm too negative. You know,
Yes.
that's the part of it. I'm just way too negative. But I just wanted to get it across, and I feel sometimes my work is not done, but because I can do something else, not in the ring wise, but something else that I think God may have me to do. Want me to do something else in the wrestling business or whatever, just because I want to be that role model for our kids.
Right.
And I want to make sure, hey, kids, stay off of drugs and don't be bullies and stuff like this. And you know, I want our parents to be role models too. And it's not only the Coco Bewares and the Magic Johnsons and the Michael Jordans and LeBron James can be role models. Parents, you can be a role model to your kid.
LeBron James is a family guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah, absolutely.
but he still. But what I'm saying, I don't want the parents to say, "Well, I'm nobody to comparison to LeBron James." Yes, you are. You somebody, and this is your kid, and you gotta raise this kid up to be in the right perspective.
I want you to know, my father was an all-city basketball player. Obviously, he wasn't LeBron James, but my father was a medic in World War II. He was shot. He freed a concentration camp. He had post-traumatic stress disorder. So to me, you know, my dad was a hero. So, and he was a good father and a good husband, and you know, he was a living, breathing role model. So I absolutely agree.
My last thing here, you know, it's like this: we all are stars.
Yeah.
We just have different ways of shining.
Let me tell you, a father or mother or both who go out every day and do a hard, honest day's work. My dad used to say, never be ashamed. He ended up being a cab driver. Never be ashamed of what you do. Somebody has to clean the toilet.
Right.
You know, it's hard, honest work. And, you know, you're
just do
supporting
the right
a family.
thing.
Absolutely.
Just do the right thing and be honest with yourself. Then you ain't have to worry about at night looking over your shoulder while you sleeping at night. Somebody gonna knock on the door, kick the door in, and stuff like that, because you know you did something wrong.
Absolutely.
Because it's gonna come back and hunt you.
Karma.
Sooner or later,
Absolutely.
it's gonna come back and hunt you. So, fans out there, people in general, black, white, purple, green, it don't make no difference.
People
Do
are people.
the right thing in life, and you will be prophet. You're a prophet yourself. You be blessed. What I'm saying, because I'm telling you, the eyes in the sky is looking at you, and I'm a number one believer of that. You know, hey, and if you don't believe God, your ship is sinking.
Okay.
And I guarantee you, your ship is sinking if you don't believe God. And I'm telling you, and God bless Johnny. Johnny Valiant is gone on, but what a great man, Johnny. I know you still around New York, trying to squeeze in those little places, trying
Doing
to
that late night set.
yeah, trying to do the late night set and everything. But his spirit is still around.
There you go.
And I'm telling you, and nobody can beat Johnny Valiant. I'm telling you, Johnny and Jimmy. I love Jimmy Valiant, but Johnny's right here in New York City. He's the kingpin of New York City, Johnny Valiant.
Thank you. Coco Beware, thank you so much. And once again, come see Coco Beware at WrestleCon this Friday and Saturday, and also at FTW Wrestling Friday night. Coco, thank you so much for appearing on this show.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate
All right.
it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're going to go to Steve Miller with some clips from 350 Days just released this past Tuesday. And we're going to talk about 350 Days in just a moment.
Thanks.
350 days a year as a wrestler on the road. Maybe it's a sickness.
350 days a year.
A lot of physical pain, a lot of loneliness.
You have no home life whatsoever.
Piper and me riding down the road, doing 8 balls of cocaine.
I'm sure it broke up marriages.
How many guys in the wrestling business have a family left when they're done? Most of them lose it.
I couldn't have children. I couldn't put on my turnbuckle while mommy worked.
I hit the bars, and that was my character. Sitting in a room with a bunch of wrestlers doing cocaine, we really got to know each other.
I would take a lot of downers, and I did have problems with the downers.
I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I was not a faithful husband from the first day, for the whole time on the road. I lived a double life.
I needed it. It was like I'm not getting the love I needed home.
Would I do? Oh my God, I'm afraid to say I would do it again.
I wouldn't change a thing.
No regrets.
Well, I want to tell you, you know, to make some big money in wrestling, you had to wrestle every night of the week, $30 every day. So you had to wrestle 6 and 7 times every week just to earn your money.
350 days on the road with wrestlers, a living hell.
All right, you ready, Evan?
All right, we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show at VillageConnectionRadio.com, joined by the notorious Monty and the Pharaoh. Seen Thursday nights, usually at 8:05. It was a little different schedule today, but tell us about your show real quick.
Go ahead, Mike. Lay it on.
Incredible. I got to tell you,
We don't say so ourselves.
was a little emotional.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
You were a little but you always get that with our show. You never know what you're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
You get some emotion, and then sometimes you get hit it or quit it, right? And then
Tell the folks what hit it or quit it is.
we'll hit it or quit it when we put a wrestler on a spot to decide, whether he'd have sex with a certain female wrestler or not, and we,
And some of them actually have had sex with
yeah,
those
and
guys.
most of the time they have.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, I had her, and it wasn't that good, but yeah.
Right.
So we've got Lanny Poffo in studio tomorrow, and we got something special surprise for the fans out there, so it should be enjoyable. But I will tell you, Coco Beware was incredible, and I got to tell you, Wisteria Hall, Jimmy Farrell's band, and Coco Beware singing Pile Driver, you can't get any better than that, man.
I think
It
even
was.
Joe Franklin would have dug that urban moment.
You
Anyway.
ain't kidding, brother.
And tell us about some of the upcoming guests that you have. You have Stan Hansen going to be seated in that very
Yeah.
seat, and other legends. Who you have coming up?
Well, we got Stan Hansen very early tomorrow. Mike is currently placing bets to see if I wake up.
Yes.
Saturday. You'll wake
Saturday.
up for Stan Hansen.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
Saturday. That's on Saturday. Tomorrow is Lanny. Forgive me.
Yep.
After Stan Hansen, we have J.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
manager of the Four Horsemen.
Huge.
coming on, who was also in 350 at the
Stan
end.
Hansen, J.J. Dillon, and
Yeah,
Lanny
they're
are
all
in
in
350
there. Yeah,
days.
they're
In fact, when we saw 350 Days in the theater at the end, is that also on the DVD? The clip where you're interviewing J.J. Dillon?
No, that's not.
What?
Oh, you guys didn't put that
Because
on.
that was a Fathom event, and this is a different company.
Well, I gotta tell you, that was fantastic. We were very
Thank
proud that
We're marking out.
we have a relationship with Mr. Evan Ginzburg. So we're like, hey, there's Evan,
Thank you.
And we got Butch Reed on later that day.
and
too.
Butch Reed later. And there's a good possibility we may have the super producer Stephen Miller focused on all three of those shows.
Wow.
Yes, you might have that.
Nice.
So, without searching for a compliment, tell us your honest reaction to 350 Days, because you both saw it.
I love the pace of it. I thought that it moved really good from scene to scene. There was a lot of what I really loved was a lot of these wrestlers have passed on, and we got to at least see a glimpse of them, like the Wolfman, for example. You know, there were some guys that I just thought it was great to get their story.
Yeah, not a lot of people were following the Wolfman around with a camera crew.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
It was like a real gem to have him on there. Fargo, another
I saw
one.
Bruno wrestle the Wolfman in Nassau
Did you
Coliseum.
really?
Remember the big red X on Channel 9 when the Wolfman
yeah,
used to
yeah,
have
yeah.
his way with
Yeah.
with his opponent? That was
I
great.
could never forget that. Marty's always hilarious. Marty was great in the movie.
Yeah.
You can't take your eyes off Marty when he's talking because you never know what he's going to say.
If you're a diehard wrestling fan, this documentary is super incredible.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just a passive wrestling fan, it tells enough stories that you'll get interested in professional wrestling. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? If you're simply a documentary fan,
Yeah.
that's what that's the now. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the audience you want to reach is the documentary fans. What?
Yeah, we had a lot of girlfriends and friends and mothers of people in the audience, and they were not wrestling fans, a lot of them, and they were very moved by the film.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
an interest story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the candor of the pro wrestlers too. They don't really hold back in this at all.
Superstar Billy Graham talking about his life being saved by a transplant,
Yep.
and the poor girl died in a car wreck. That's going to touch anybody. You don't have to be a wrestling fan. And Ox Baker is so over the top funny. You don't have to be a wrestling fan.
That may be the most memorable image I have of the
A lot
film
of people-
when Ox is cooking.
A lot of people say Ox Baker stole the movie.
Yeah, he did.
Really?
He did steal the movie. That's what he said. He can't get it out of his head.
I'm sorry.
And those eyebrows, it's like, I cannot believe that guy hasn't shaved his eyebrows in all these
You can't
years.
take your eyes off his eyebrows.
Definitely.
It's a shame he didn't live to see it because he's been gone a few years now.
One of the nuggets that I took out of it that really blew my mind was when Bret Hart brought up that Vince put a clamp on marijuana and he felt that it was a really bad mistake to do so because it turned out that everyone, instead of using pot, turned to heavier stuff, and then all of a sudden people were kicking off.
No.
And I found that to be, wow, what a point.
I want you to know, in the previous interview that I just did, Coco Beware was talking about religion and God. You guys came on and talked about Hit It and Quit It.
Right.
Coco was praising Vince McMahon. You're burying him. This is a variety show.
It's all upside down.
But you know what? But here's a telling tale. You're looking at two guys that saw the movie once.
Right.
It's almost a year ago, and we remember it.
Remember it well.
Scene by scene,
Remember
line by line. That's how good this documentary is.
Appreciate it.
I mean, it's that simple.
We appreciate all of your support and Steve Miller's support and Jim Savali, the owner, because you guys really got behind the film. And
Well, it's an honor, first of all.
Thank you. And I just want to say, this is an independent film. We don't have $1 million publicity budget, and there's no monster corporation behind it. This is. I would guesstimate that, like an Avengers film, the catering costs more than this movie.
Probably.
Right,
Yeah,
Steve? You're a movie guy.
You're right. No,
Yeah.
you're probably 100% right. The Best Boy costs more than this entire
I think
film.
one Infinity Gem on Thanos costs more than this.
Yeah.
To be very honest.
So
Nerds.
There we go.
Nerds.
We
Says the
came,
guy with the Spider-Man comic book on his wall in his office. Nerds.
we came out on Tuesday. The number 3 documentary on Amazon. The number 1 special interest
Tell us how
movie.
shocked you were.
I was shocked.
'Cause
Honestly,
I'm not. Tell us.
I was just so moved by.
Not surprised.
I mean, one person after another, how much they enjoyed the film. And again, I'm not just hyping it. I mean, I have the emails and the instant messages to prove it. And if you create art, art will survive. Long after I'm gone, people will watch The Wrestler.
Yeah.
Do you find the timing? I find the timing, Mike, very ironic that John Oliver just did this piece, and boom, and your movie's coming out. Any
Well, I
It's
think
just wild that it happened at the same
I
time,
think the HBO people realized it's WrestleMania week, which is like
Of
our
course.
Super Bowl week.
Of course.
Also, the distributors the same.
Of
same
course.
Well, the one thing
Yeah.
people do forget, I don't want to make it about this, but they also, most recently, Linda McMahon was seen with Donald Trump as part of his cabinet, and John Oliver, no, she's not, and John Oliver saw that, so good opportunity to go anti-Trump. I'm not saying I'm pro-Trump, anti-Trump, all I'm saying, he saw the opportunity, and that was the window to go through, but that's just my opinion, anyway.
Oliver's leaving.
It's kind of a roundabout way to get at Trump going after Vince McMahon. I mean,
Well, if his wife is a big player within the Trump party, I don't know. Just my opinion. That's what I saw out of the whole thing. But
okay.
anyway, I mean, when you use clips from 25 years ago of Bret Hart talking about Vince McMahon,
true.
I don't know. I kind of thought that was a little.
bit of a play.
But I do have a question for
A
you.
little bit.
We saw The Wrestler. I was watching The Wrestler again last night, which I love that movie. The release of this, is this a different feel? Is it the same type of butterflies, or does one project have more than the other? And you know.
well, I don't think you're ever going to top The Wrestler. Mickey Rourke was the Golden Globe winner. He was nominated for Best Actor at the Academy
Should've
Award.
won.
We were at the New York Film Festival, sold out, 2,300 people, standing ovation, and I could easily say it was the best night of my life. But again, The Wrestler was a $6 million movie, which is minuscule by Hollywood
Sure,
standards.
sure.
but again, a far bigger budget than what 350 Days has. So this is a true grassroots effort to get this out there. 6 years of struggle on behalf of the producers, Darren Antola, David Wilkins, who'll be out in just a bit, Fulvio Cesare, and to put 6 years of your life and all the blood, sweat, and tears that go along with it, it's very meaningful when the reaction is so positive. And you know, a lot of the vendors sold out the first day. They're restocking. I mean, it was an amazing reaction, and you know, who knows if there's awards in the future? It would be beautiful, but it's like apples and oranges. You have to be pleased with both.
You got to think there may be a director's cut possibly coming after the success of the DVD sale.
That's what Fulvio Cesare, the director's been saying.
And there's hundreds of hours supposedly, right?
I believe there was 90 plus hours. David Wilkins could tell us later. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
I would say so.
My lord.
Yeah.
Well, I could say, if I could speak for my partner, being that we've been on the station. We've been on the station with.
Not pro-Trump, you could say.
Oh, wait a minute!
Yeah.
Oh no! How did I get into the political pool? I went out. Next.
I was going to say, you know, since we've built this relationship, your victories here is a small victory for us too, because how much we want you guys to be successful, and we've kind of built this like little family relationship. So kudos to you, Mr. Evan Ginzburg, and the rest of your team on this movie, and everybody involved. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to say, and this isn't, you know, mutual admiration society.
Say nice things.
But you guys probably, and Steve, as a radio host, could chime in. You guys probably have the best wrestling radio show in the world. I don't think anybody's having legends, you know, as regularly as you.
Yeah, we resemble that.
I'm talking. You guys are doing hour and a half interviews with legends regularly.
Cranking them out. We got 3 interviews to write tonight.
Yeah.
We're right back to the races.
Well, you know, I think Evan, when we first met you, one of the things you said is right. This was in the history books. So if whoever sees us or whatever else, if we can make a difference in someone's life and they enjoy it, doesn't matter if it's one or millions. It makes a difference.
We almost feel like we're building our own library documentation.
Well, let me tell you what happened this very morning. I woke up this morning, and it was kind of melancholy because it's the anniversary of Johnny Valiant's death. And I went on YouTube, and I was pulling out not wrestling matches, documentaries on Johnny, shoot interviews on Johnny that may have not gotten the audience they deserved, and it's there forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right. Yeah.
And people will watch it today, and they'll watch it next year, and 10 years from now, and 100 years from now.
He's one of those guys I feel would have wound up coming to Monty and the Pharaoh.
Oh, absolutely.
I really feel that way. Nikolai too.
Well, I gotta also say that you know, we started at another station and we found our way here. And Jim, yourself, Steven, I couldn't imagine us being in any other home but Village Connection Radio. It's or TV, whatever you want to say. We love it here, and it's given us so many opportunities. Yep. Without this may not even happen. So you know, we're humbled for sure.
Yeah, it's been a good fit.
Me, it's fun. It's fun to work with these guys because they bring.
Ridiculousness?
No, not ridiculous.
Where else are you going to spend quality time with New Jack?
Yes. No, but you bring fun to it. It's not the most. I mean, it's a serious business.
Yeah.
But you guys have fun.
It's a fun business too.
The most important thing, and I said this to Evan out in the lobby, is that you treat each wrestler with dignity, and that to me goes. It goes a mile. It goes an extra mile. You know, don't go. Let's take a video of Coco Beware washing your car. No. It's dignity.
You know, I would say though, it's these men and women have what they've done for our lives, right? Yep. We grew up on it, so we can't have nothing but respect, right? They changed our lives. They molded us into the men that we are.
Wow!
Oh my God!
Wow, that's heavy.
I didn't realize Hogan had such an influence.
You want heavy. When
my God, what is he talking about?
When
maybe Lennon, maybe Morrison, Hulk Hogan. What's going on here?
Lennon, Morrison, Hogan.
There you go, perfect.
You know what?
The trio.
In a way, it kind of does. Anyway,
when my mother passed 2 years ago, Nikolai Volkov called me on the phone. Johnny Valiant called me. Lanny Poffo called me. Jimmy Valiant. And it was really a boost to have your childhood heroes as friends there for you when things are at their worst. And, not only are these guys larger-than-life entertainers, but they're great people, or some in the past tense. But
don't cut yourself short. Your mother and your father did such a great job raising you that people feel that, when you're down and out and you're hurt, they feel compelled to reach out to you. And
Nikolai and Johnny knew my mother. They were close friends. So,
Bet you didn't see that coming when you were a kid sitting at the garden.
It's
been an interesting life,
absolutely. Greg Valentine's sleeping on my couch tonight. So yeah, it's surreal sometimes.
By the way, make sure there's lots of toilet paper.
And be careful. The Pharaoh might be in the closet. He might just sneak out when the lights go out. Valentine will make up for WrestleCon, and there's the Pharaoh snuggling him.
Yeah. You want.
That's great.
Check under your car.
Great. Stalking Greg Valentine. Thanks a lot.
Like Cape Fear, he's going to be under the car as Valentine's driving to Queens.
As if I had one.
That's great.
You want surreal. Waking up in the morning, and there's Greg Valentine on your couch.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't figure for you, you're all right.
That's great.
I hated these eggs, Evan.
These eggs suck.
I broke Evan's leg.
In Korean, my wife's Korean. It's last name. It's in reverse.
Right.
So she just calls him Valentine. Hi, Valentine. Hi, Valentine. So
that's great. That's great.
Anyway, guys, we have two
right.
guests, so we have to wrap it up. Plug your show one more time.
Go ahead, hit it. You're the promo man.
Monty the Pharaoh every Thursday, 8:05 to 9 p.m. And we've got coming tomorrow the genius Lanny Poffo on from 5 to 6:30. Saturday we've got Stan to Larry to Hansen, 8 a.m. to 9:30, and then J.J. Dillon 9:30 to 10:30, and then let's not forget the natural Butch Reed. So we're on the road to WrestleMania with Monty and the Pharaoh. This is the first leg. We had Coco Beware. Do not miss that interview. Catch it on replay. And not only that, let's not forget about getting your own copy of 350 Days.
Wow.
I bought mine.
There you go.
That's it, baby.
There you go. Thank you, guys. Monty and the Pharaoh, the best wrestling show in the world. Absolutely. We'll be right back.
The wrestling fan, they loved you or they hated you. If the fan loved you, they couldn't do enough for you. They want to buy your meal, they want to buy your drink. I think it was one of the main reasons that, whenever I stepped into the ring, I wanted to give back. I wanted to satisfy their reason for coming out and watching me wrestle.
I tell you what, I treated fans with respect and they loved me back. Whether I was a heel or a babyface, it didn't matter.
I learned right from the get-go with my parents that it was to appreciate every single fan that you got, everyone. I think that's one of the reasons I've had longevity in wrestling is that I always treated my fans with a lot of respect.
They wanted to kill me trying to get to my car, and they always knew I was in a Cadillac or something, and it was, you were in fear for your life sometimes.
The New Jersey crowds were always great. In the Boston Garden, it was dangerous at the Boston Garden.
The fans were believers in that era. They believed the doggone thing was real. And they were some of the fans were very violent.
I look back on it and I'm saying, well, you put up a lot of you-know-what. But you know something? That's what drove me to do it. Because the more those people hated me, more this I made.
I was being punched and kicked, and I was having beer thrown on me. I was being hit by chairs.
How angry do you want to make your wrestling fans? How much do you want to butcher up your baby faces until they're all bleeding and they're being beaten by 8 or 10 guys? How far can you push an audience before they lose it and then you have the Alamo kind of thing?
Play with people's heads, You got to play with their minds. You got to play with them. Psychology. Because that's how you manipulate people. And that's what I do. That's what I did for a living. I manipulated you when you were a kid. I know I did. Because you probably didn't like me. Or you might have liked me because I was that way. And a lot of people did. A lot of people didn't. Thank you for the living I made at it, people. You were very good to me.
All right, we are back with the Evan Ginzburg Show, and we are trying to reach Davey O'Hannon, who's one of the stars of 350 Days. And the beeping you hear is that of Davey O'Hannon's.
Hello?
Davey, Evan, how are you?
What's cooking?
How's everything?
I'm hanging in there for an old guy.
You're not an old guy. I'm an old guy. Yeah. Anyway, Davey, we just want to thank you for being part of 350 Days. And, before we talk about the movie, tell us a little about your career. I have such fond memories of seeing you at the Garden month after month after month in the 70s and 80s. Give us a quick career retrospective.
Well, you know what? For me, it was a dream come true. I never wanted to do anything in my life except be a professional wrestler. So for me to be able to realize that dream was just unreal. And the treat for me was I was a wrestling fan, of course, like a lot of us were. I was a wrestling fan, a dyed-in-the-wool fan, and when I did get into the wrestling business, a lot of the stars, the people that I idolized, were still involved. So for me, to be able to call people like Haystacks or Bobo or Bruno, Mike Cicluna, guys like that, to be able to refer to them as my peers, my friends, was just an extra treat for me. So it was fantastic. And I started in the Kansas City territory. I grew up in New Jersey, but I went to school out in Missouri. And I got myself involved. I was always bugging wrestlers and promoters and everybody here in the New York territory. I wanted to be a wrestler, and for the most part, they said, "All right, kid, go to college. Talk to us when you're done." So I wound up going to school in Missouri, and I actually had my first matches in the Kansas City territory.
And you were also the Texas Brass Knucks champ, I remember.
Yeah, I was. I was, and also the Western States, half of the Western States tag team championship with Dennis Stamp.
Oh, Dennis Stamp was top notch. He was underrated.
Oh, he was a piece of work. He was a great hand in the ring. He had a good mind for the business. It was a big thrill for me. I didn't know him, of course, before I got down there, and after I was there in Amarillo for a month or so, they put the tag belts on us, and that was kind of neat. I got to work with guys, that being a fan, I used to look at guys in the magazines like Ricky Romero and Reggie Parks and Abe Jacobs. I got to work with them. So it was really neat. It was really neat. That's the part of the business that the people see that is kind of nice, and it's out there under the lights, and the roar of the grease paint and the smell of the crowd. But that's the part that's kind of neat. And 350 days is so unique for this business. And it means so much to a lot of us because it addresses the part of the business that the people, they might have thought they knew about it, but that 350 days is our story, and it really touches on what the life was like, away from the camera and away from the arena. And it was very touching. It was very moving for a lot of us to see that.
Thanks so much. And what did it feel like the first time you were at Madison Square Garden and there's 20,000 or so people there, and you look across the ring and there's Bobo Brazil or Haystacks Calhoun or one of your childhood heroes?
Well,
and you're wrestling them.
The first one for me in the Garden was with Pat Barrett, Irish Pat Barrett, and here's a guy that I watched as a kid. here's a guy that I watched as a kid, and when I got my bookings in the New York territory, and you get your bookings every few weeks, and I looked at it and I went, oh my God, it's the Garden.
Yeah.
It's the Garden. At the time, Madison Square Garden cable was pretty hot, and New York TV news was covering wrestling at the Garden. Actually, I think I'm not sure if it was Warner Wolf or Jim Bouton. I had my pink stuff on, my pink tight shoes and jacket and everything, and one of them actually covered my match for the 11 o'clock news.
Wow.
In New York. But the Garden is such a special place. After a while, it was another arena to go to. But it's always the Garden. It's always the Garden. And any sport, New York is the Mecca. New York is the place to be. And in the wrestling business, if you went to other territories, which I did, I went to a lot of territories. I mean, one of the main things guys would ask you, they'd say, "Oh yeah, how's business there? How's this? Did you ever work in the Garden? Did you ever work in the Garden?" That's the question a lot of people ask.
Same with
then they
boxing.
say, "What's it like?" Well, what's it like?
Yeah, boxing as well.
It's almost like you're in a little vacuum there when you get into that ring, and you're surrounded by 20 or 22, or if they had the Felt Forum open also, you're talking about almost 30,000 people there. Now I've been in front of bigger crowds, but it's the Garden.
Sure.
It's the New York Garden, and everybody in the business knows about it. Everybody in the business knows about it. And, I was so fortunate to be able to be there, a number of times.
And when you look back at your career off the top of your head, what do you consider some of the highlights? Any particular matches or titles? Or?
Well, just being allowed to be in the business during the time frame that I was in it. I started beginning of '72, so that was what I think was a part of the golden years. It really was. Think about who was involved and who was there, and it was a time when those of us that were making a living in the business were dead serious about it. And we weren't just serious about making a living, we were serious about our craft. We were professional wrestlers. We weren't professional entertainers, and that is not a knock on what's going on now. The guys now are phenomenal athletes, and times have changed. But I got to tell you something, we never did anything that made a joke of the business we were in. There were guys that did, but they were short-lived, certainly. They didn't stay around. I know you were planning on, or you did have Greg Valentine on there. Greg is a perfect representative for our business. And the reason I say that is when the people watched Greg, or watched a lot of us, the people believed. The people were invested in it. They took it to heart. And the reason the people believed what we were doing is because we believed what we were doing. And that's a fact. We never made a joke out of what we did for a living. No cartoons, no fooling around, no going out there. And, and again, this is not a knock. I see independent guys go out there and do acrobatics for 10 minutes. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't have anything to do with wrestling. But so that was just being involved, and like you just said, I look across the ring and I see Bobo, I see Haystacks, I worked with Strongbow a million times, Andre, I never worked a single match with Bruno, but I was in battle royals with Bruno. So to be able to say I was involved and actually be involved with these people was an absolute dream come true for me. It was unbelievable.
There you go. And Davey, we just want to thank you for your incredible support of 350 Days. You've done interviews for us, and you're in the movie. And just one question that keeps coming up. There's a lot of people who may not be wrestling fans. What did your friends and family who may not have been wrestling fans think when they saw you in the movie and of the movie itself?
Well, you know what? There were actually a few of them that were really not wrestling fans per se, and absolutely glowing reviews about it. Glowing reviews. They said, how well done. Now listen, my wife, we're married 40 years. My wife lived the wrestling business. It was thrust upon her. She had to live it. It wasn't a good life sometimes. I was away a lot. We walked out of that movie when it first came out, and she said, and it could have knocked me over, she said, wowee. She said, that was really well done. She said, that was well done. She kind of shrugs her shoulders with wrestling because she's seen it all and heard it all, and she's had to wash my hair over the kitchen sink because I had cast on my legs, or closed on our first house by herself because I was in Japan.
Wow.
She said it was really, really good, really good. And that's probably not because I was in it. It was probably because it was really good. So that's the bottom line. This is a unique, very, very goes to the heart kind of film that the people are going to see the other side of the wrestling business. Sometimes a side of the business that was a little lonely and a little sad, and it was hard for us, but that's the life we chose. And it was great. It was great. And the movie, we should be thanking you. We should be thanking you. You guys have memorialized something that was so near and dear for us that it'll never go away.
Well, thank you so much, Davey, and thank you for your support and getting behind the film and doing interviews on behalf of the film. And it's great that you're part of it, and I have cherished memories of seeing you at the Garden dozens of times. And thank you for appearing on my show.
That means a lot when somebody says that.
I mean that. I mean that sincerely. Thank you, Davey. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, and appreciate what you've done, Evan. Take care.
You too. Bye. And Steve, maybe we could run Kings of the Ring, the sponsor commercial, if you have.
I think that's a totally good idea, Evan.
Okay. And then we'll be joined by David Wilkins, executive producer of 350 Days.
Kings of the Ring is wrestling's first audio drama podcast as a fictional depiction of the 1980s wrestling industry in and out of the ring. Join us as we take you back to the 1980s. You'll be a fly on the wall in the locker rooms of the past while the wrestlers put together matches. We'll take you into the jam-packed arenas where the rabid fans of the past believed everything they saw was real. We'll take you inside the ring where you'll hear what the wrestlers talk about and you can feel the action. We'll take you to the underbelly of the arena where the wrestlers got into all sorts of trouble. And we'll take you to the bars and clubs where the boys got into even more trouble.
You have to order it.
And it wouldn't be 80s wrestling if we didn't end up at the hotel room.
I want to order it when I go home.
Search Kings of the Ring from any podcast app or go straight to the website kingsotr.com.
All right, and we are back. I just want to thank our sponsors, SWF Wrestling and Kings of the Ring, which is a wrestling radio drama. How's that for old school? And speaking of old school, one of the executive producers of 350 Days, sporting a 350 Days t-shirt, our friend David Wilkins. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. And like myself, it's been an exhilarating yet exhausting week with all kinds of interviews and airport pickups. And now we're getting ready for 5 or 6 gigs in the next 3 days. So tell us your reaction to your film after 6 years of hard work, being the #3 documentary on Amazon and the #1 special interest film on Amazon as of a day or two ago. For all we know, it could be #1 at this point.
Yeah, we heard from a lot of people, which we were really surprised about, and I was really proud to be part of this. And I got Darren and Antola I can thank for that, because we've been friends for a long time. But just to hear the reactions of the people, even friends of mine, that reposted and shared everything that we put online on Facebook, on all the different sites and stuff, and everybody's saying they can't wait to get a copy. I actually got emails, believe it or not, from other countries.
Oh, yeah.
That people heard about it. The UK, Australia,
New Zealand,
and yeah, all over the place. And it's like somehow we're trying to see if we can get them copies, and we have to contact the main distributor and see what their plan is for.
Well, their
overseas.
plan is to expand it worldwide, so
Yeah.
it's a step-by-step process. One thing that we didn't address in the show today, this isn't a quote-unquote sure thing like the Avengers, like a franchise, where they go, we need $225 million, for the next movie. This is blue-collar guys basically, sacrificing, somehow finding the money from 10 different places and really, piecing a dream together, to do an independent film, a quality independent film. And you're basically investing in your dream and Darren's dream. And this was not an easy ride.
It definitely was not an easy ride. And the number of jobs I had to try to pay for this darn thing.
Yeah.
In the first place.
It's not like you just went to the bank account and,
That's it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Darren and I struggled, and the struggles that we went through. We worked a lot of different jobs. We did whatever we had to do to try to put this together.
So how's it feel it exists? People are watching it. People are reviewing it. People are praising it. It must be a great feeling.
It is a great feeling. I'll tell you what, one of the best feeling was when actually Fathom put it out first in the theaters, and we had our premiere in New York.
Yeah.
And to actually
Sold out.
Yeah, sold out.
Yeah.
To actually see the people's reactions, and actually giving them the opportunity to ask us questions afterwards, which I think really went well. And that there was a lot of questions. Everybody got involved, and everybody loved the movie. We got praises from all over. Other wrestlers, the guys that were in the film that were there doing autographs, and the first time that they
Bob
seen it.
Backlund was seated in the audience.
Yep.
And he loved it.
Yep. And one of the Glow girls were there too, and she loved it.
Hollywood, Jean, yeah.
Yep.
She'll be at WrestleCon this weekend as well.
Yep.
And we want everybody to come by and say hi to us. We'll be with Greg Valentine and Coco Beware, and you could pick up a copy of 350 Days at WrestleCon this weekend and at Mark Out at the Meadowlands on Sunday. Two major conventions, and basically we're going to run ourselves ragged, and we're going to land Monday morning, and it's kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, we'll see when the dust settles what happens afterwards. But we also have T-shirts and hats with 350 logos on. I got one of the shirts, but
there you go.
A little different, but we'll be doing a lot of things. There's a lot of people that are interested. We've already been doing some sales online, which is good. And that, as far as the T-shirts and hats, the word started getting around more, so more and more people are starting taking interest in it. One of the best things too that I got out of this too was actually meeting the wrestlers themselves and hearing so many of the stories.
Oh yeah.
And there's hundreds of stories that obviously we can't fit them all into the film.
Right.
I think Mike Burlingame, our editor, did a great job on picking what he thought was the most important aspects, and the titles that we were trying to get to, or at least some of the main things that we were trying to reach and to show people, what these guys actually went through. And at all those years, it's not just all fun and games. It's not what you see in front of you. There's a lot behind the scenes that these people never knew about. And we were hoping to bring some of it out so these people would understand more what these guys go through and give them more respect than they probably been getting deserved.
Yeah, I don't think people are following Don Fargo around with a camera crew and some of the other guys. And I think it's great that they're immortalized on film. There's about a dozen people involved in the film who are no longer with us, and in many cases it may have, and in many cases were their very last interviews. So we're preserving them on film. We lost George Steele, Don Fargo, Wolfman, Don Leo Jonathan, Jimmy Snooker, many others.
Ox Baker, a comedian.
Baker, who kind of stole the movie.
Yeah, he kind of stole the movie. Everybody was
Yeah.
saying it with
Yeah.
his cooking segment and some of the other reactions, he's kind of stayed in character almost the whole time we were filming him, which was pretty nice.
So, and I also, the one thing Steve will tell you, you learn in show business is don't do a long list of thank yous because inevitably you're going to forget people and they'll be insulted. But I just want to particularly thank JP Zarka from Pro Wrestling Stories, ProWrestlingStories.com, a great website, and Gorilla Position. These guys really went above and beyond the Call of Duty. Aviav did a half dozen or so interviews with us, and he's going to be on my show next Sunday. And not this coming Sunday, the following Sunday. We're off this Sunday. And again, I'm not going to list 20 guys because then 5 other guys will be insulted. But just off the top of my head, these guys really, really got behind it with multiple interviews and Steve Miller himself, and like I said, the family here at Village Connection.
My pleasure to be involved. My pleasure.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you, Gorilla, the gentleman that was interviewing me, was really good. He was really such a nice guy. I was glad to meet him.
Yeah, he's passionate about wrestling, boy. This is Jim Phillips. He lives and breathes it.
Yeah, Jim Phillips. He was great. I mean,
he's like, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to Cauliflower Alley and I'm going to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Like that's his life, boy. Yeah, sometimes I have a love-hate relationship. I need to get away. This guy lives and breathes it.
Oh yeah, he definitely. You can see that. But the way he wrote his story, wrote the story when he had interviewed both of us. I mean, he did an in-depth story, which was really nice. And
Michael Burlingame, our editor, and Fulvio Cesare, the director and producer. This guy really, knocked himself out to support it, and we're grateful to him and everybody, every person who took a moment. You'd be surprised, Steve. I've had people on my show a half dozen times over the years. Ask them to share something. Move their wrist an inch. It's too much to ask.
I've said that on my own show.
Oh yeah.
You're watching my show. Is it offensive? No. Then why can't you hit the share button?
That's right. It's the Herculean effort of moving your wrist.
Okay. The only excuse you have is I've had carpal tunnel surgery. That I can accept.
That's right.
The others I cannot. It's not.
A lot of artists take self-involvement to an art form. Let's put it that way.
I tell you, I've gotten to the point where it's like I'm all in about this station. So I'm in. Like you wanted to do. We discussed this. This originally, I think, was my idea.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, why don't you take this extra hour? It's here. Yeah. Take it. Promote. Let's do it. It'll be great. That's
now you're finding out you're having a lot of fun doing it.
I love doing it. I love doing this.
Well, where else are you going to meet Coco Beware? Where else are you going to meet Coco Beware? The guy's awesome.
That guy is awesome.
Yeah.
See, it's not even a job when you enjoy what you do.
Well, plus when you're not getting paid either.
Yeah. The kayfabe.
No, I enjoy this, but it has been, if I may be so bold as to interject, it is a pleasure working with Evan because Evan is passionate about music, wrestling, the arts. And as we know, we may not agree on everything, but it's nice to have chosen to, not to sound hokey, to accentuate the positives and the middle ground where we agree on and forget all the rest.
Yeah.
Why bother?
Absolutely.
So,
and we have a very tired Greg the Hammer Valentine needs to get up at the crack of dawn to work WrestleCon, so we're going to wrap this up. But thank you, David Wilkins, and thank you for 6 years of blood, sweat, and tears. And without you, this would not have happened. And 100 years from now, people will be watching 350 Days. So
thank you, too,
from your sacrifice.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, you went into your pocket. I worked hard, but you're the money guy. You went into your pocket.
Yeah, I went into my pocket a lot, boy, let me tell you. But it was worth it to see this and... and even I got 2 boys that I'm real proud of, and both of them said first time they seen the movie that it was like a history lesson to them, and that they didn't realize.
J.J. Dillon said, quote, "You guys are preserving history," and there's 38 guys in here, and Bret Hart's preserved, but some of the others really aren't. So it does mean something.
Yeah, there's also one other thing I'll bring up too. Luckily, I had my boys bring my 92-year-old mother to actually go see this, and her sister is 91, my godmother, and they both went to see the film and wanted to make sure somehow they got there. And I have a sister too that made sure her husband actually brought. My sister seen it out West Coast somewhere.
In our next episode, we're going to talk about the day when your mother was dating George Hackenschmidt. That was that's a beautiful romance. We're going to talk about that in the next episode. Just kidding, Dave.
I know.
Anyway, thank you so much. David Wilkins, executive producer of 350 Days, along with Darren Antola and Fulvio Cesare, who's also the director. And thank you to Mike Burlingame, and thank you to everybody who's gotten behind it. 350 Days, get it today. iTunes, video on demand, Blu-ray, DVD, all major retailers from Amazon on down. Check it out, folks. Now, do it.